Good evening, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you here to celebrate the centennial of the birth of Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi, also known as Nirmala Srivastava, and known to many tens of thousands of people around the world, simply as our beloved, honored, and holy mother. I want to take a moment to welcome all of you who are here in person to celebrate this beautiful and auspicious day, and also to welcome all of you who are joining us online this evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Purnima Kirby. I'm a performer based in Boston, Massachusetts, and I've been practicing Sahaja Yoga meditation, the technique that Shri Mataji founded and taught, since I was a little girl. And as such, I count myself among the many tens of thousands of people around the globe who have been deeply inspired, transformed, and illuminated by Shri Mataji's love and life and work. To celebrate Shri Mataji's life is, in a way, an infinite undertaking. She lived such a varied life. She visited so many countries around the world, and she touched so many lives. And of course, she described herself first and foremost as a mother. And as we all know, a mother's tendency is to put her attention towards her children. Even on her own birthday, she would often give presents to us and always have love and concern for how we could be benefited. But today, on her 100th birthday, our desire is to put our attention towards her. She used to call us her flower children, and she spoke of this time as a spiritual blossoming when the seekers who are desiring for their spiritual fulfillment would one by one begin to blossom until it's like a springtime of all these souls getting their spiritual enlightenment. And today we are going to put our attention to the beautiful unfolding blossom of her lifetime, starting in 1923, from her youth all the way through her leadership as a spiritual leader and her legacy even today. And as such, I want to take a moment, in addition to welcoming all of you who are here, to welcome Shri Mataji herself in her spiritual form into our hearts and into this space to be part of these auspicious celebrations. And so we'd like to welcome her with the traditional Arti ceremony. So will those who are performing the Arti please step forward? Thank you so much for performing this sweet ceremony to welcome our beloved mother. As I mentioned, it's difficult to know where to begin in celebrating Shri Mataji's multifaceted, multi-petaled lifetime. But we're very fortunate to have with us today Dr. Ashish Pradhan, who is going to give us an overview of Shri Mataji's life and the 3 different epochs of her life, and place her life also into the context of the time and place where she was born and grew up and lived. He's also going to speak about her place in the historical context of a series of scientific breakthroughs in human history, and how her breakthrough for human awareness and consciousness, which took place on May 5th, 1970, was the culmination of all the breakthroughs up until then. Dr. Ashish Pradhan is the head of neuroimmunology at a multinational pharmaceutical corporation. He's based in San Francisco, and he focuses in neurosciences clinical research. And of course, he's also a longtime Sahaja Yoga meditation practitioner, and he actually had the wonderful fortune to spend quite a bit of time with Shri Mataji, and has many beautiful stories to tell about her. So without further ado, I'll welcome him forward to give us an overview of Shri Mataji's life.
Thank you, Purnima, for this wonderful and very kind introduction. Good evening, everybody, and good afternoon to those of you who are joining from maybe the West Coast and maybe other parts of the world. This evening, we stand before you as representatives of this wonderful family that Shri Mataji herself has created since 1970, and it continues to grow. So who was or who is Shri Mataji? If one were to think about her in terms of qualities that were represented in her personality, and if you were to ask individuals who had come in contact with her, they would describe her maybe in various ways. She was, above all, an extremely joyous personality. She could fill the room with her laughter, and the room would erupt in laughter and joy with her. She was compassionate. She was generous. She was loving beyond any measure. She was kind. She was generous with her own self. But above all, she was a mother to literally hundreds of thousands of her disciples that she managed to attract to her because of her nature and this unique gift that she gave to humanity. Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi was, to begin with, somebody's daughter, then a sister, a beloved wife, a loving mother, a sister-in-law and a daughter-in-law of a family, then a grandmother, a great-grandmother, but above all, she was a mother to all of us in Sahaja Yoga or who practice Sahaja Yoga. Let us start looking at her life from the very beginning so that it provides us with a measure on this most estimable of inestimably important of occasions. Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi was born as Nirmala Salve in the Protestant Lutheran family on 21st of May 1923, exactly 100 years ago to this day, at 12 noon at a place called Chindawada in the then central provinces. This was pre-independence India, right in the middle of the country at 12 noon, that is of course the spring equinox. When she was born, she was absolutely immaculate. And the person who helped, of course, during the childbirth looked at her and said, she's immaculate. And that is how she was named Nirmala. In Sanskrit, that means immaculate, the one who is completely devoid of any blemishes. Today, we are gathered here to memorialize Shri Mataji, not to mythologize her. So in the next 15 minutes, we are going to look at those aspects of her life that are grounded in fact and reality and not legend. Her father, Prasad Rao Salve, was an eminent lawyer, an educationist, a linguist, a man who spoke multiple languages. Her mother was a mathematician. She trained under a wrangler. A wrangler is somebody who has a tripos in mathematics from Cambridge. And this was her lineage. It was a royal lineage. They came from the lineage of the Shalivahanas. And this was a family that was, of course, very eminent, very prosperous, of course, because they were also very successful. And Shri Mataji was middle of in the order of her siblings. She has elder siblings and she had younger ones. And what we hear from her, what we have heard from her younger as well as older siblings, is that she was extremely wise and very sagacious in everything that she did and how she expressed herself, to such an extent that she was the one that even her elder siblings sometimes came to for wisdom and for her advice. Shri Mataji's father recognized that his little daughter was very different. She was different in the way she carried herself, but she was different in the way she seemed to be uniquely self-aware. And her attention always seemed to be towards alleviating other individuals' issues, problems, joys, and sorrows. And it was her father who, at a very young age, suggested to her that she should find a way, a means to reach amas, individuals, not at an individual level, but at a collective level, so as to be able to better their lives. Little Nirmala grew up, became a young lady. Being brilliant as she was admitted into Seth Balakram Medical College, then in Lahore, Pakistan. Today it is called as Lady Fatima Jinnah Medical College. And she began her medical studies. However, when she was young, she had, because her parents took to a Gandhian way of life, they gave up all their material possessions, embraced the Gandhian way of simplicity and straightforwardness, and serving one's own country as the primordial objective of one's life. Shri Mataji was influenced by that. In her young days, she spent many a day in the company of the Mahatma. And it was an influence that stayed with her throughout her life and to whom she would refer very reverentially and respectfully in the decades that followed. So although Shri Mataji was in med school and she was completing her studies, she also felt, because she was first and foremost a revolutionary, she never accepted the status quo. And she felt that humans needed to be free in order to have a choice. And India therefore needed to be liberated if it were to follow a spiritual path, or Indians and the rest of the world, of course, were to have a way of life whereby spirituality would become the central tenet of their existence. So Shri Mataji gave up her medical studies and she joined the freedom movement. And in fact, she was part of the underground movement. Once there was an armored personnel carrier in Nagpur, which was coming to sort of blockade a group of protesters these were freedom fighters, of course, but we call them protesters for simplicity. And had they reached the crowd, there would have been a charge and perhaps many would have been injured, if not killed. In order to stop that vehicle, Shri Mataji herself prostrated herself on the ground, right on the road, and the car and that vehicle had to stop. Of course, it was an act of sedition. Shri Mataji was arrested. She was taken to the nearby police station and subject to what shall be politely referred to as police interrogation techniques. But that was Shri Mataji, a revolutionary to the core. As we move along now, in 1947, this young lady married a young man whom her family had selected. His name was C.P. Srivastava, a young lawyer, brilliant, with a fantastic academic record. Now, in the mid-1940s, a young lady from a very different part of India. India looks like one homogeneous country. It's actually an aggregation of multiple linguistic and cultural backgrounds, all kind of coming together. This young lady from a Lutheran Christian background was married into a family that was relatively conservative and Hindu. And it was at that time presumed that she might have challenges adapting to that environment. But guess what? Unsurprisingly, even there, that revolutionary spirit came out, in the sense that not only did she adapt to that family, but she adapted it in a way that she became a true darling, and in fact, the reference point for everything that was culturally important, or that was important from a linguistic point of view, every other aspect that a daughter-in-law is supposed to kind of provide and bring into a family. Her nephews, her nieces became like her own. She looked after them, managed their careers, got them married off, got them settled. In these years, of course, Shri Mataji had two daughters of her own. They grew up and then they were married. In the meanwhile, Sir CP, at the time of their marriage, when they were married, Mataji and Sir CP were married, he had topped what is called as the Public Services Commission exam. And at that time, he could have chosen a life in the diplomatic corps because being a topper, he could have had his choice. Shri Mataji stopped him and basically advised that both of them should stay in the country and serve the country, because in 1947, India had just become independent. It was a young country, and she felt that her services and her husband's services were required in the country where they would do a lot of good. That was Shri Mataji, a patriot, a revolutionary, and a visionary who always saw beyond herself and her family's needs and catered to the will of the collective. As we move along now, her husband's career took off. He was very successful. He eventually ended up in what is the Prime Minister's Office of India, the second Prime Minister of India, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. He served as his personal assistant and then was called upon by the government to establish the first shipping company in India, the Shipping Corporation of India. He became its founding chairman. In that role of his, Shri Mataji, of course, had a lot of social leverage. And she used that social leverage to perform a number of public good. She opened charities, she was part of NGOs, and she even ensured through her husband's good offices that all the employees of the corporation at that time were able to potentially acquire loans to buy properties in Mumbai. Just goes to show, this is just one of maybe umpteen examples that Shri Mataji essentially demonstrated her vision, her commitment to the benefit of those around her without any consideration to her own benefit. Now we move to the third epoch of her life. But before we now move there, let us consider a few facts, because now this is the most important part of this presentation. Let us go back in time. Let us go back to the roots of Eastern or Western civilization. There are three questions that seem to have dominated human thinking to date. The first one is, who am I? The second one is, what is the purpose of life? And the third one, is there a God? There are variations on the theme of these three questions, but these are the three most important questions that have dominated since the beginning of time. Now, the answers to some of these questions have also been provided. For example, the Vedic scriptures mention Aham Brahmasmi as the absolute universal truth. That is, I am a part of the cosmos. It's not some kind of a megalomaniacal thinking. It is something rooted in personal experience. Socrates said, know thyself. That is the key. If you know yourself, you don't have to know much beyond that, because there is nothing really beyond the self. Christ said the kingdom of God is within you. When Moses received the 10 commandments on Sinai, one of the commandments was, thou shalt not worship any other gods before me. So I'm a part of this cosmos. I have to know myself. The kingdom of God is within me, that I shall not worship any gods before myself. All sounds wonderful, but how do you know what is the truth? George Orwell once said that at the time of universal deceit, speaking the truth is itself a revolutionary act. That's exactly what Shri Mataji did. Spirituality throughout antiquity in this part of the world, at least in the Indian subcontinent, was the purview of a chosen few. Only those who had the aptitude and the capacity and the ability to perform severe penances, had the intellect, the wisdom, and the capacity to digest these great eternal truths, were chosen. Maybe one individual over many centuries was imparted with this knowledge. It was a kind of a secret knowledge. Shri Mataji, throughout her life, in the first two epochs of her life, had studied humans, as she said, and she realized that they were subject to a lot of untruths. There were people out there peddling untruths and fleecing and making fools of large swaths of humanity, either in the name of religion or otherwise. And she felt that the only way humanity could find out was if they were revealed the ultimate truth. Now, let's look at it from a scientific point of view. This was the spiritual context. Let's now take a look at the scientific context of how we came into the last part of the 20th century. In the 15th century, towards the end, about 1563, that is towards the end of the 16th century, Nicholas Copernicus provided his model of a heliocentric universe. Till that point in time, till that point in the 16th century, it was thought, it was imagined, it was believed that the earth stood at the center of the universe and everything else revolved around it. Copernicus changed that through his hypothesis and through his experiments. Copernicus didn't have a good time. He was reviled, and of course, we know after that, humanity's self-impression forever changed. It was an epoch-making discovery. Let's move forward 100 years. The Principia Mathematica was written and published by Isaac Newton. In that, he basically explained that the motion of planets and everything that we know, motion itself is governed by gravity. It is the universal constant that defines the law of motion, and that is at the core of everything that stands. After that, humanity never looked back. It was another epoch-making event. The third event that we shall look at was towards the end of the 19th century, when The Origin of Species was published by Charles Darwin. The Origin of Species essentially provided a notion and evidence that man evolved from common ape-like ancestors, and that every living being that we see, whether it is animate or inanimate, has evolved from lower, relatively less complex organisms. It was revolutionary. It completely shook the foundations of both the religious and the social orders. Darwin faced a lot of criticism, but of course, humanity was not the same thereafter. Move forward to the 20th century. 1953, Watson and Crick published in a very short article the structure of the deoxyribonucleic acid, which was the structure of the DNA, where they explained the double helical model. The double helical model changed our understanding of what it means to have a gene, what is a gene, and thereafter it led to the development of molecular biology, genetics, the mapping of the Human Genome Project, and everything that we know so far about who we are and how do we live, literally how proteins are synthesized. All of these events over the past 400 to 500 years have changed the way we look at ourselves and how we understand our world. On the 5th of May, 1970, at a very quiet beach in a place called Nargol in the state of Gujarat in Western India, Shri Mataji was sitting with some individuals, sitting under a tree and contemplating as to what would be the best way to bring enlightenment to humanity, so that there would be no more subject to falsehoods, to misinformation, that they would see the light within them. And what she did on that morning, the early hours of that day, 5th of May 1970, is because of the powers that she had, she enabled the opening of the 7th energy center, which is the crown center, as you might be able to, that exists on the top of her head in the fontanelle area. Within the human anatomy exists a subtler anatomy. We call it the subtle system. The origin of this, the fulcrum of this system, is the os sacrum bone, in which resides a dormant spiritual energy. Awakening of this energy and its ascent through the 6 energy centers, also called chakras, and its piercing through the fontanelle area is considered to be the final step of yoga, or the union, where the individual establishes connection with the energy around him or her. When that happens, the light within shines, and one realizes to the question that Socrates said, know thyself. That is, you realize you are the spirit. That is the essence of who you are. So the 3 questions: who am I? I am the spirit. What is the purpose of my life? The purpose of my life is, if I'm enlightened, I should bring that enlightenment to others. Answer to the 2nd question. And the 3rd question, the most important one: is there a God? Generations have debated. Men have been killed and slaughtered and killed each other over this question. Yes or no? My God is greater than your God. That has been at the basis of everything that humanity has fought for. With this happening, with the opening of the 7th energy center, it was possible, and it is possible, for every individual who desires it, and you shall have that experience in a little while. We can feel this energy, this divine energy, on the tips of our fingers. Because we have sensory nerve endings in the tips of our fingers and we can feel this energy around us. It is scientifically acceptable because, as every scientific phenomenon goes, it is verifiable, it is reproducible, and it is generalizable. The three main constructs of accepting a scientific truth. That is how Shri Mataji on 5th of May 1970, we feel, changed human history forever, and it begins a new epoch in the history of human civilization. After the 5th of May 1970, Shri Mataji formally started this movement we'll call Sahaja Yoga. She felt, and to this day, till 2023 and beyond, it is observed, and this kind of experience is provided to individuals without charging any money. Why? Because Shri Mataji always said, getting your self-realization is your birthright. And for your birthright, no monies can be charged. And this organization called Sahaja Yoga now operates in over 100 countries where the exact same principle is followed. After 1973, Shri Mataji, given her nature, using, one might say, best described in Lincoln's words, with malice toward none, with charity for all, that's how the movement started spreading. Today, we believe Sahaja Yoga is probably the only organization, it's a kind of a hyperbolic statement, but still we believe it to be true, where individuals who practice here in this very unique culture, across boundaries, across genders, across ethnicities, across religious divides, where we do not accept all of that because we all have that light shining within us. We believe that it is truly the place where people are judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin or of their ethnicity or of their affiliations. So with that, I take your leave. We shall take a look at the next part of Shri Mataji's journey going forward. Thank you. And I thank you for your attention on behalf of everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Pradhan, for this beautiful overview of Shri Mataji's life and her courage and her concern for the well-being of humanity. My attention goes to this moment where she was sitting on this beach and meditating so deeply on how best to help the human beings who she knew to be suffering and knew to be seeking that spiritual fulfillment that Dr. Pradhan was speaking about. We know that in 1972, she traveled here to America. And on that occasion, she actually wrote a very beautiful poem addressed to the spiritual seekers of America, entitled "To My Flower Children." I mentioned before this image of the blossom time that she returns to again and again. And reflecting on this auspicious event of the raising of the awareness on May 5th of 1970, we can see that this is not just a metaphor. If we look at this beautiful subtle system that's within us, the chakras are actually represented as flowers. And we can see that at the crown of our head is the most blossoming flower of all, that 1,000-petaled lotus, in which place we can experience that depth of meditation where we become freed from all these affiliations, as Dr. Pradhan was describing, all these sources of our suffering. So we will experience this beautiful illumination a little bit later on this evening. But first, I think it's wonderful to put into context a little bit further what her work was when she came here to America, what her concern was, and how she expressed her love for everyone who lived here. So the next presentation that we are going to see is a video presentation exploring her work to establish Sahaja Yoga in America. It'll be narrated by Dave Dunphy, who is an architect and a longtime practitioner of Sahaja Yoga. And he also got to spend quite a bit of time with Shri Mataji, especially when she was visiting this lovely country. So let's enjoy this next video presentation on Shri Mataji in the Americas.
America was the first country in the West that Shri Mataji traveled to via Japan in 1972, and she made the long journey on a cargo ship in very Spartan conditions for 1.5 months to arrive on our shores. This marked the beginning of a 4 decades-long odyssey to bring her message of Sahaja Yoga and the experience of self-realization to Americans. The important question to answer, though, is why America and why at this particular time? It is perhaps instructive to understand the context of this period of our history to see why Shri Mataji chose to travel to the United States at that juncture in time. We were in the throes of winding down an unpopular, decades-long war in Vietnam and had been through the momentous changes brought on by the civil rights movement. America was also very enamored with the many Indian gurus descending upon this country, despite their efforts to market spirituality and turn it into a commercial enterprise, a practice which concerned Shri Mataji greatly and she spoke out openly against. Americans were actively re-examining their beliefs and their role in the world in an era of questioning and were beginning to seek things of a more spiritual nature. She said, and I quote, "There are seekers of money, seekers after power, seekers of gratification, and then there are people who have done all those things and are now seeking the truth, seeking their spirit, seeking God. There are many, many seekers of truth in America. Great, great seekers. Oh, so great. I want to meet them, show them how they can get what they have been looking for probably ages, lifetimes even, their self-realization." Perhaps the deeper reason for her consistent focus on this country could be discovered in Shri Mataji's revelation that America represents the Vishuddhi chakra in the subtle system of the universe, and that as such, it stands for diplomacy, sweetness, self-esteem, communication, and collectivity, like Abraham Lincoln, whom she said stood for collectivity. She felt that if America began to introspect and move away from its materialistic focus to the experience of self-realization, then this change would spread to the rest of the world, and in fact, that America was the key to the gateway for the dawning of collective consciousness on Earth. A manifestation where every person has awakened their subtle connection to the divine power and each other, and are able to feel the energy of others within themselves. To this end of establishing Sahaja Yoga in the Americas, Shri Mataji engaged in extensive tours across North and South America every year, giving thousands the experience of self-realization in many cities on both continents for several decades, in literally hundreds of public programs, often lasting late into the night. She worked physically on many of the seekers until they could touch the state of thoughtless awareness and verify the existence of the subtle system within themselves. Shri Mataji felt that her work here was so important for the establishment of the spiritual foundation of America that she set up residences on each coast to act as bases for the effort, and spent several months a year living here to realize her vision. She established ashrams and meditation centers in many cities across the U.S., a school, a 110-acre spiritual retreat in upstate New York, as well as the formation of a registered nonprofit organization called Vishwa Nirmala Dharma, whose recognition in the United States was seminal in getting similar nonprofits established in multiple countries worldwide. Because of her ceaseless efforts, Sahaja Yoga has been established in most major cities in the US and Canada, and thousands are currently enjoying more balanced and peaceful lives. Her life of service to humanity, both in the Americas and the world, is unparalleled, and for this we owe to her a debt of supreme gratitude on the occasion of the centennial celebrations of her birth.
And one of the beautiful things about Shri Mataji's life is the deep personal connection that she managed to create with many people who she met, and even those who didn't get to meet her in person but experienced her lectures just through video. This deep personal connection, this relationship to her, you could think of it as responding to the love and the concern that she emanated in every moment and for every person, whoever was in front of her, whether it was a crowd of thousands or a single spiritual seeker. Her full love and attention and concern and curiosity went towards that person, her interest in their growth and their benevolence and well-being. So it's only fitting on her birthday that we continue to celebrate her life through the testimonials and the reflections of those who were touched by her. So we're going to do these testimonials in two parts. The first pair that we'll hear are from some people who didn't get to spend as much time with her in person, but experienced her work a little bit later on. But her work was part of their life from their very childhood. So we can learn a little bit about how having her Sahaja Yoga meditation as part of your life from childhood, how that transforms and shapes someone's life. So here are the first two testimonials.
Hi, my name is Naranjana Vienkovska. I am currently a research associate at Icahn School of Medicine in Mount Sinai here in New York City. And I'm also a recent graduate from the neuroscience department at Princeton University. So Shri Mataji has made a huge impact in my life because she was the person who introduced our parents, hence how I'm here. And one thing about her that really stood out to me, through my parents and just growing up, is that I only met her when I was a little kid, so I barely remember my interaction. But I've been able to achieve a relaxed state to the same extent as much as my parents have, who were privileged enough to be with her. And that is something that really sets her apart from other leaders, other spiritual leaders who teach meditation. Because not only did she emphasize on the fact that you should be able to reach that relaxed state, she also emphasized everyone who were with her to be able to teach the same kind of meditation to other people. So even more people who don't have the privilege to be with her can reach the relaxed state to the same extent and level as much as they did. And that's very, very important to note and very, very important to understand in today's time when we have a lot going on in our lives and we want to be in a relaxed state all the time. And then another thing that has inspired me personally is that what she emphasized in her teachings was that she not only taught meditation on an introspective as well as spiritual level, but she also taught meditation on a scientific or medical level. And for someone who comes from a neuroscience background, who majored in neuroscience at Princeton University, and am conducting neuroscience research at Mount Sinai, it's very important for me to understand that what's happening in the brain and the body when we're meditating. She's worked with so many doctors, so many scientists over time. And even till this date, there are many people who are working on it, and so am I and other people within the same realm. And we've seen the benefits of it over time, and we've seen the changes in the brain and the body when you do meditate. We've been working at leading organizations such as Icahn School of Medicine, Mount Sinai, Columbia University, King's College in London, and more. And it's something that's very important to me.
Hello, my name is Ernest Garapishan, and I have got introduced to Sahaj meditation when I was 11 or 12 years old by my aunt. My story started from that point that when I was young, I have been diagnosed by ADHD. At school, I couldn't study or I couldn't really focus on my school. So my aunt taught that by giving me this technique of meditation, she can help me to improve my grades and to improve my study. And I remember I was about 15 years old that I saw the real big improvement in my day-to-day life. I could really sit down, I could read, I could write properly, and I could study. Step by step, I was also introduced to the lectures and talks of Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi that had a very tremendous effect in my day-to-day life. Shri Mataji's teachings helped me to become a better human being. It helped me to become more peaceful person, to really manage my anger, to not get depressed, or if I'm getting depressed, how can I help myself to get out of depression? To really understand my environment, to really see the world with a different angle. I cannot imagine if I would not been introduced to Shri Mataji and all her wisdom, how my life would be different. I'm coming from Orthodox Christianity. Also, I have Jewish backgrounds. The Sahaja meditation helped me to understand the interconnection between all these religions. Also, it gave me the wisdom to understand all other religions. Shri Mataji helped me to find about my own self, about my qualities, and about how can I be a better person in the society. Shri Mataji is one of the greatest teachers that came to this earth to help us to find our own self, to find our own spirit, and to be with ourself and to be happy in ourself.
So there we have just a few reflections on how Shri Mataji's influence and how Sahaja Yoga meditation can shape a person's life from very childhood. And on a personal note, I'm another person who also experienced her teachings from my childhood and experienced the inspiration of her example and this sense that there is this deeper thread running through all the busy parts of life, the studies, dealing with friends, dealing with being a teenager, that there's this depth of meaning and poetry in the center of life. And so now we're going to look at a couple more reflections. And these are from people who encountered Shri Mataji or encountered Sahaja Yoga a little bit later on in their lives. And it's also really fascinating to see how all the wisdom they had gained to that point, all the, you could say, all the spiritual seeking they had done, reached a kind of fruition, a completion, or an illumination through encountering Shri Mataji's teachings. So let's now look at the next few reflections.
My name's Michelle Simons. I'm from Lynn, Massachusetts. It's a town a little bit north of Boston. I studied psychology, and I can really tell Shri Mataji is the master psychologist. I also teach for a living at a community college, and I teach something called recovery coaching, which is for folks that have came out of addiction recovery through various different ways. And when I teach the recovery coaching, I notice after listening to Shri Mataji's talk, she's like also the master recovery coach. So a lot of these techniques and these things, I can see that she really studied humans to be able to reach us. And she also had such a gentle way about her. When I listen to the public programs that Shri Mataji gave, she really finds a way to, kind of satisfy people's mental questions that come up when they listen to her. And she also knows a very interesting technique to work around the ego, because a lot of times people's egos, they get in the way of our progress, and our egos start to question things that are divine or that are beyond our mental capacities. And she had such a nice way of being able to explain it to our, simple human brains. She's been able to really have so much insight in what actually gets in the way of us humans to grow spiritually. And Shri Mataji gives us so many amazing techniques to overcome them. So I had 15 years of addiction recovery when I found Sahaja Yoga, and we practiced something called the 12 steps. The 12 steps gives us a really nice spiritual foundation that isn't necessarily religious. It can't, some people do go to certain religions with it, but for me, it was very, they call it a spiritual kindergarten. And that was really great because it gave me just a really unbiased foundation of spirituality. And I started to trust a higher power in my life and a foundation. However, meditation is actually the 11th step in addiction recovery, 12-step fellowships. And I knew that was the answer to what was happening to me in my life at the time, where even though I had done a lot of work on myself and started to understand, how I think and understood my feelings and had a nice, life, I was struggling with anxiety. I had some physical issues, and that was causing some anxiety. And meditation was something I never practiced, even though the 11th step is meditation. So that's how I started seeking another piece to add to my recovery. And what it did was took what addiction recovery was, which was a pretty satisfying life, except it was missing something, and it was really that deeper understanding and that deeper connection to a higher power that I didn't, so it just kind of answered all those kind of lingering questions that were kind of left untold in the halls of recovery.
My name is Tom Fremont. I'm from Ohio, born here and live here almost all my life. And when I was in my early 30s, I was in a place in my life where I could devote myself to finding out what might be the purpose of my life and how to pursue that purpose in earnest. And from the very first day, my involvement with Sahaja Yoga and my, shall we say, discovery of Shri Mataji Nirmala Devi delivered on that hope, on that purpose, and has continued to do so ever since. As we come to know, the journey of self-discovery that we embark upon in Sahaja Yoga commences with an enabling, an awakening, and proceeds from there. And only by that awakening can any such progress be made. And that does, in fact, happen at the very outset. And Shri Mataji has enabled all of that. She has provided the means, the access, and the knowledge to pursue the voyage of self-discovery. That entails reaching a state of thoughtless awareness by which we can go beyond the mind, which has no access to reality, in fact. And by enabling that state, we can, at our own pace and according to our own will and desire, discover ourselves. We all want to enjoy life, and I have found that the success in my pursuit of discovering myself, however humble in its measure, has provided me with the most enjoyment of any other activity or time that I have spent. So Shri Mataji has gone all out to give us this access, to provide the means. She has set the table, as it were, for all of us. And it is only left to us to take our seat at that table and imbibe it.
My name is Dorothy Logan. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was seeking, but I didn't know what to do to fulfill this emptiness that I felt within. So despite my religious upbringing and encountering many teachers, I still felt that there was something missing. So how was Shri Mataji different from other teachers? And how did I know that she was different? So it's because I found a loving home and a loving mother in that home who fed me spiritual nutrients. I didn't have to tell her my name. She called me by my name and made me completely satisfied with unspeakable joy. So she awakened a knowledge within that was so satisfying, and it let me know that my search was completely over. So no one out of the many teachers that I encountered gave me the gift of know thyself or self-realization and the understanding how I was once blind to this inner knowledge, but now I see.
So now we have seen a few of the flower children that Shri Mataji refers to, and the different and varied experiences that people have had with Sahaja Yoga and with Shri Mataji, the way that she's touched so many people's lives. In continuing to celebrate her and having experienced the perspectives of those whose lives she touched, it's now perfectly fitting that we move to her own words about her work, about the effort and the creativity and the dedication that was required for her to manifest this beautiful vision of a blossom time. So what we'll share now is actually a compilation of excerpts from Shri Mataji's lectures in which she describes her work and also her inspiring vision for this new age that is dawning.
People do not realize what a tremendous work we are doing today in Sahaja. What a great thing we are doing. Tomorrow, you will be the foundation stones of this great image I have about the golden age of the whole world. You are not ordinary people. Only because I love, because I know it's my mission, I have to do it, I am supposed to do it. This is the job I have. But if anybody else can do it, I'll be very happy for them to do it. Now, when it comes to all these awakening and all that, it's a thing that happens to you. It is a thing that moves within you, and you have to feel the movement.
I was absolutely aware of me and my mission and why I'm here. Everything I was aware of from my very childhood. But I was working out how to do it in our mass happening. It should be for the masses.
So we are here today in a very big way. To advertise the coming of the new age, the coming of the golden era people have talked about. Here we are to say what is reality, what is truth, what is joy. Here we are to manifest that and also to create a commotion or a movement in the cosmos. This is the most interesting, most lovable job. These are special blossom times where all of you have to become fruits. So many flowers were there on this earth, and you have to now become the fruits.
So all these years I've spent for Western people, because great saints are born here. You are all great saints of golden times. See, you are born here because you are blessed.
But I can see a golden age coming now. So I don't want to miss that for a moment. I can feel it. That's coming, no doubt. Somehow I have a feeling now. I have seldom failed in my feelings. So some golden age I can see here. I'm sure something great is going to happen. Sahaja Yoga is the right of every human being to achieve that ascent. In the evolutionary process, we have come to the stage where we are human beings. But the knowledge that we have is not absolute. To get to the absolute knowledge, we have to rise higher into new realm beyond thought. And this is the new realm which you achieve after Sahaja Yoga, by which you feel the truth, the absolute truth, and everybody feels the same. As you know, I have started this work only in 1970. Not because I could not start it earlier, not because there were all bad people in this world, but because I was waiting myself to be deft in dealing with all kinds of kundalinis. I had to work out all the permutations and combinations that were there. And then I just thought, if I could get hold of a way by which all these combinations can be worked out in one line, then only Kundalini will rise. And it worked, it happened. With a sincere desire, because I felt very sad about people who are spending their lives in something very nonsensical. They cannot enjoy anything. They have no genuine feeling for anything. They have no genuine love for anything. And they are not even loved. They cannot love, they are not loved, and they are in misery. So, it was very deliberate action on my part, I should say, that I watched human beings very carefully. Why they do it like this? Why they behave like this? Why are they not understanding? Why are they harsh? Why they shout? Why they beat? Why they do all this? Because of imbalances within. But with introspection, if you start seeing those imbalances, you now know how to cure yourself, and you can really work it out. You have to just work on your chakras. See which chakra is catching. Where is the problem? You have to respect yourself in such a way that you become your own doctor and you know everything about yourself. It is for you to grow now. Grow into great people, great personalities, very tremendous people who have made history, who are respected. All those great saints and all that also were of great caliber, but they didn't know how to raise the Kundalini, which you know. You have something special knowledge how to raise the Kundalini, how to judge the Kundalini, how to understand. Once you realize what Sahaja Yoga has done for you, and also realize what you have achieved in that. That is, you have achieved the knowledge, knowledge of Kundalini, which was a secret knowledge all these years. Absolutely secret knowledge. Nobody knew about it. It was all underground. All the knowledge about Kundalini you have very clearly, without going to any college, school, university, anywhere. Without going to any laboratories, you have experimented with it. You found out what is Kundalini. You have seen with your own eyes, you have seen the rising of the Kundalini. You have given realization to it. This is something has to happen in this country and in every country, that we should all feel oneness and enjoy the oneness with each other. If we do not enjoy, we are like a drop outside the ocean, which can be dried any time. But if you are a part and parcel of that ocean, then what happens is that every movement of the ocean you carry with you, and you are part and parcel of that ocean absolutely, because you do not have separate identity. So many beautiful lotuses have come out, and they are so fragrant, so beautiful, so colorful, so attractive. All this is because we have an innate value system. So now we are in for a new world, and in that new world a new race of Sahaja yogis have to show their results. They have to show their powers and their courage and their understanding. It is not serious, it is not frivolous, but it is joyous. It is just joy that you have to feel about yourself. Gradually all nations will become one, I am sure of that, because great times are coming and so many people at the helm of affairs will take to Sahaja. Once they take to Sahaja, then things would be very much different. These are special blossom times. Let us think of the flowers and not of the past and the thorns that we had finished. We have to give something very beautiful to our children, isn't it? A heritage where people will say, oh, I see, there were people who forgave all such things and created a beautiful world for us. Isn't it a nice thought? And you enjoy this compassionate flow. And all the things look very different. The whole life changes. This has to happen to the whole world if you have to bring peace and sanity. If you have to save this creation, we have to do this. Actually, the divine is more anxious than anybody else to do it, because the creation will be lost if human beings are lost. You are the petals. You are the corona. You are the color. You are the beauty. You are the pollen of that beautiful lotus, which is my vision of this world.
So in these excerpts, we can see what a powerful, inspiring, and fortifying force Shri Mataji's words could be. And of course, as I mentioned, on her birthday, she loved to give gifts to other people. This is a mother's way. And so to continue this celebration of her 100th birthday, we want to share now with you the most beautiful gift that she's given to all of us, which is this experience of self-realization, also known as Kundalini awakening. As a mother, in a mother's way, of course, her way and her desire was to make something very challenging, extremely simple, and joyful. So this thing that people would seek for centuries is now available in a very simple set of exercises. So I'm going to invite in just a moment Romina Raspa to come forward and guide us through this beautiful experience of self-realization. Romina is originally from Argentina. She now lives in New Jersey with her husband and children. She works for the United Nations in the realm of business transformation and innovation projects. And she has been practicing Sahaja Yoga meditation for more than 25 years and really enjoys sharing this experience. So she's going to come forward and guide us through a simple meditation.
Thank you, Purnima, for the very nice introduction. And after listening to Shri Mataji and also to yourself and Dr. Pradhan, I hope that everyone is as eager as I am to experience what self-realization is. So what is self-realization? It's basically the awakening of our inner energy, our Kundalini energy, which resides at the bottom of our spine. And currently it is in a dormant state. When she is awakened, she rises and goes through all of the different chakras or centers of energy, reaching the top of our head and connecting us with the energy that created us. This brings us to explaining the name of Sahaja Yoga. Sahaja means spontaneous, and yoga means union. So this union happens in a spontaneous way. It's the union of our inner energy with the energy that connected us. Now, of course, there is only one thing that you do have to have, and that is the pure desire. That cannot be forced. So let's start with the exercise. All we have to do is to place our feet in parallel. If we are sitting on the floor, just be cross-legged. But if you're sitting on a chair, make sure that your legs are not crossed and your hands are on your legs, on your lap, with the palms facing upwards. So we're going to do this exercise with our eyes closed. But before, I would like to walk you through all the steps with our eyes open so that as I walk you through the exercise, you know where to place your hands exactly. First, we're going to place our right hand at the lower part of our abdomen on the left side. Then we're going to raise our hand up to the left side of our stomach. Then again up to our heart. Then we're going to raise our hand to the left side of our neck, putting a little bit of pressure. Then on top of our forehead. Then we're going to place our hand on the back of our head. And finally, we are going to stretch our fingers and place the palm of our hand on top of our head. And as we rotate in a clockwise direction or massage our scalp, we are going to say the last affirmation. So be relaxed. This is a moment for yourself, as Shri Mataji has very well described. And let's start the exercise. Let us start by closing our eyes and breathing in very slowly, holding the breath and exhaling, just to bring the attention within. Let us do this a few times. Now let us start by placing our right hand in the lower part of our abdomen. And here we are going to refer to our Kundalini energy as either Mother or Mother Kundalini, as you wish. And you can say the affirmations within yourself. So here the affirmation is more a request. We're going to request, Mother, please give me the pure knowledge. So for the Kundalini to awaken, We need to have that pure knowledge. Let us ask for it. We can say within ourselves a few times, Mother, please, give me the pure knowledge. Let us bring our right hand to the left side of our stomach. And this is the center where our mastery resides. So here we can say, Mother, I am my own master. I am my own guru. It is with the awakening of the Kundalini that we learn what is right or what needs to be corrected within ourselves. So let us just say, Mother, I am my own master. I am my own guru. Let us bring our right hand up to the level of our heart. And here we can say, Mother, I am the spirit. I am that essence that never dies. Mother, I am the spirit. Now let's bring the right hand up to the left side of our neck. And here, without thinking of anything in particular, let us say with full confidence, Mother, I am not guilty. Mother, I do not condemn myself. Mother, I am not guilty. Now let's bring the right hand up to the level of our forehead. Put a little bit of pressure on the sides. And without thinking of anyone or anything in particular, just forgive. We can say, Mother, I forgive myself and I forgive everyone. Mother, I forgive myself and I forgive everyone. Let us move our right hand to the back part of our head. And we can rest our head on our right hand as we humbly say, Mother, if I have done anything against my evolution, please forgive me. And finally, let us stretch our fingers and place the palm of our hand on top of our head. And as we massage our scalp, we can ask with pure desire, Mother, please give me my self-realization. Mother, please give me my self-realization. Connect me with the energy that created me. Let me become one. with you. Slowly we can bring our right hand back on our lap and remain with our eyes closed. And now we can see if we can feel the presence of this energy by bringing our left hand up 2 or 3 inches above our head. Let us see if we can feel a bit of coolness or warmth above our head by moving our hand forward, backwards. It's a very subtle feeling, but it's very pleasant. We can bring the left hand down and try the same thing with the right hand by bringing the right hand up 2 or 3 inches above the head and searching for those threads of Kundalini. And as we bring our right hand down, we can slowly open our eyes. And as this is the experience of self-realization, the more we practice meditation, it gets more and more settled within us. So let us stay in this state for as long as we can, and then move on to the next part of the program. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you, Romina, for guiding us through this beautiful experience. And as Romina said, let's remain in this meditation. I think sometimes we have a misconception that meditation is a very serious matter. And as we know, Shri Mataji is such a joyful person. And as you spend time around Sahaja yogis, if you get the chance, you'll find that there's a lot of laughter. So meditation can actually be a state that runs through our life and illuminates and gives us joy, even as we're moving about through the world, as well as when we're sitting still and enjoying this meditative state. And speaking of celebration and joy and laughter, it is, of course, Shri Mataji's birthday, as I've mentioned several times. She actually used to refer to this experience of meditation, of getting your self-realization, as a second birth. So for those of you who have experienced this for the first time today, a happy birthday to you as well, because she talks about how it's like a bird where first it's born as an egg, and then when you break through that shell, then you have your wings. So a happy birthday to all of us who have gotten some wings today. And of course, it being a birthday celebration, we're going to cut a cake. And I believe we have some young angels here who are going to help cut this cake for Shri Mataji. So as we do this, I would invite all of us to, of course, sing the traditional song, which is Happy Birthday. So here we go. Gotta light the candle first. Okay, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shri Mataji. Happy birthday to you. So we have a very beautiful chocolate cake here, decorated with flowers. And what does it say on the cake? Do you want to tell people what it says on the cake? Feeling shy? Here, say it into the microphone.
Happy birthday, Shri Mataji.
Happy birthday, Shri Mataji. And we're going to place the cake in front of her photograph. Good job. Let's have a round of applause for our intrepid cake cutters. All right, so we are going to now start getting set up for the next phase of our celebration. So this is going to just take a couple of minutes, and I wanted to share with you while we're setting up for this. One of the many aspects of Shri Mataji's personality is that she was a truly enthusiastic supporter of the arts. And one of the traditions of her birthday was that she would usually have a concert performed by professional musicians in celebration. She was a patron of the arts, she was a supporter of artists, and she spent a lot of time considering how to support artists. In fact, she even founded a professional theater company, actually, which I've had the honor to be part of. So her love really extended for this creative undertaking of being an artist. She, I think, felt a lot of affinity. She wrote poems herself. She composed music herself. And she had an especial fondness for Indian classical music. And Indian classical music is special because woven within the sounds and the notes is actually the ability to trigger the chakras within us. Actually, in both Indian classical music and in Western classical music, we know that there are 7 notes. And as we've heard, there's actually 7 chakras within us. So these 7 notes can resonate on the level of the 7 chakras, can create a vibration, can create an opening for those chakras to be more fully awakened and nurtured and soothed and nourished by the music. There's so many beautiful videos of Shri Mataji watching and listening to music, and you can see her tapping out the rhythms on her knee and listening with such engagement, leaning forward in her seat to hear each melody with such joy and such interest. You can also, if you look online, find a video of her watching a play and seeing her interest in every word that is spoken, every piece of poetry, and even making suggestions on how to restage the ending of a play so that it can be an expression of the opening of the lotus of the Sahasrara. So for me personally as an artist, I find it really inspiring, the engagement that she showed in the work of artists and the way that she approached her work of giving realization as a kind of art. And actually, for those of us who are, Sahaja yogis have been practicing for a long time, there are stories of people who consider themselves quite serious business people who, after practicing Sahaja yoga for some time, suddenly start to take up painting or take up poetry or find themselves taking singing lessons and singing like an angel. So these are just some of the impacts of Shri Mataji's presence. You may find yourself bursting into song. So we're just tuning up here. So, and while the musicians are preparing, We are actually going to take just a 2-minute break. For those of you who are online, this is a moment to take a little break and then make sure you come back. You won't want to miss this beautiful performance. So we'll take just a 2-minute break while they're preparing, and then we'll move on to the concert. So, welcome back, everyone. So now we are going to have an Indian classical music concert, and I wanted to take a moment to introduce the musicians. They will tell you a little bit more about the compositions that they will play in honor of Shri Mataji. First, we have Shri Ram Raman, who will be playing the mridangam. We have Jay Gandhi playing the Indian classical flute. We have Arun Ramamurthy playing the Carnatic violin, and Suryaksha Deshpande playing the tabla. So enjoy this beautiful concert.
Namaskar to everybody. We're very honored to be here to celebrate the life of Mataji, and we'll be playing Rag Hansadwani, which I understand was one of her favorite ragas. So, thank you. Alap, Jor, and Pallavi and Aditalam, Tintal, followed by another composition in Tintal. Thank you so much. Suryaksha Deshpande on the tabla. Arun Ramamurthy, violin.
Jay Gandhi on the bansuri.
Sriram on mridangam.
Sriram Raman.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much once again for this celebration of music, so beautifully played. I think we can feel that the whole world is dancing now with these beautiful melodies. And actually, this is a beautiful way as we conclude this evening. This feeling of these melodies, the joy of these rhythms, I think will continue to flow in our hearts for long after this concert has finished. And it's a beautiful metaphor for the way in which Shri Mataji's legacy and love and delight flows with us, even to this day, 100 years since her birth. 100 years is both a very long time and, in a way, a very short time. We can think that there are actually sequoia trees growing on this continent that are 2,000 years old. So it's impossible to know how much may blossom in the coming centuries, flowing from Shri Mataji's beautiful work over the course of her life, and how the melodies and rhythms of her words and of her actions will continue to echo and re-echo and abound within our hearts over the coming years. But as we conclude this evening, I want to take a moment to once again thank these wonderful artists who are with us this evening, and also to thank everyone who has presented this evening, and to thank all of you for being present with us here this evening. Whether you've been practicing Sahaja Yoga for many years, or whether this is your first encounter with Shri Mataji and with Sahaja Yoga, I hope that you will continue to join us as part of these celebrations. Today is Shri Mataji's birthday, but this is really going to be a year of celebrations of her work and of Sahaja Yoga activities. For those of you who are joining us here online, there will be a website put on the screen for you in just a moment where you can learn more about Shri Mataji and about her life and about the activities that may be coming up, and where you can also learn more about meditating through Sahaja Yoga meditation. And as we finish here, I want to invite all of you who are here to join me in expressing our profound gratitude to Shri Mataji for her love, for her life, for her work, and for the continuing echoing of her legacy down through the years. So thank you, Shri Mataji. A very happy birthday. And thank you all for joining us. Good evening.